Today we're going to be talking about substitution with systems of equations. Alright, so I need you to write this down. This is the main point. These are the steps for substitution. You will be given two equations, which will I'll show examples later on. But for the steps, step 1, solve one equation for a variable. Step 2, you'll then substitute the resulting expression into the other equation to replace the variable. This may seem a little confusing, but it'll make more sense when I show you an example. Step 3, you got to solve for that equation. Step 4, you take whatever answer that you just solved from step 3, then you substitute it into either one of the two equations that you're given, and then you have to solve for the other variable. Step 5, you then write the answer as a coordinate pair. So this may seem a little confusing right now, but let me show you two examples and you'll be able to see how these steps work. So we have an example. We have two problems. We have two equations. We have y is equal to 2x plus 1 and 3x plus y is equal to negative 9. Now I'm going to walk you through this one. Remember, I have a shortened, condensed version of the steps off to the right. You use your notes while you're walking through this as well. So the first one, I have to find the variable just to get one of the equations alone for the variable. So in this, looks like I've already solved for y. I already have y by itself in one equation. So there goes step 1. Step 2, I have to substitute y into this equation. So I'm going to take all this information and plug it in to this y. So when I do that, it's going to look like 3x plus 2x plus 1 is equal to negative 9. So I took whatever y was equal to, and I just plugged it directly on in. There's step 2. Step 3, solve. I need to solve for x. So when we combine these, that's going to equal to 5x plus 1 is equal to negative 9. Subtract 1 from both sides. I have 5x is equal to negative 10. Divide by 5. X is going to equal to negative 2. And that is step 3. Step 4, we're going to take the answer that we just came up with. We're going to substitute it again back into one of these two equations, either the first one or the second one. You can choose either one of them. I'm going to choose the top one because that looks the easiest. So I have y is equal to 2 times negative 2 plus 1. Now if we solve this through, we have y is equal to negative 4 plus 1. Y is equal to negative 3. Now, that's step 4. Step 5, create an ordered pair from our x and our y. The ordered pair is negative 2, comma, negative 3. This right here is going to be our final answer. When we graph these equations, the lines will cross at this point on the graph. That's what it means when you're solving for substitution. Alright, so what I want you to do now, I want you to pause the video, look at your notes, use these steps off to the side. I want you to try to solve this system of equations through substitution by yourself. Unpause the video when you're ready to see what I've done. Alright, first step. Find the variable. You got to get a variable by itself. But this looks like we actually have to do a little bit of work. I'm actually just going to solve for x in this one. So I'm just going to rewrite this as x is equal to a negative 2y plus 6. Great. Now I've solved for one variable. Boom. There we go. Step 2. Substitute this in for x. So, just so I don't get confused, I have 3 times negative 2y plus 6 minus 4y is equal to 28. I do the distributive method, so we'd have negative 6y plus 18 minus 4y is equal to 28. Combine this negative 6y minus 4y, that's going to be negative 10y plus 18 equals 28. Minus 18 on both sides, so we'd have a negative 10y is equal to 10. Finally, to divide by negative 10 on each side, where y is equal to negative 1. So, looking at the steps, well, we already substituted, and we've already solved. We solved for y is equal to negative 1. Now, substitute one more time. I have to come up here, and I'm going to substitute it. You can substitute it into this equation or this equation. I'm just going to substitute into this one because it looks a lot easier. And we're just going to solve for x. So if x is equal to negative 2 times negative 1 plus 6, x equals 2 plus 6, x equals 8. Awesome. Step 5, write it as an ordered pair. X comes first before y. Our answer is 8, negative 1. This states that when we graph these two equations, where they cross is going to be at the point 8, negative 1. Alright, need you to pay close attention as well because this is a main point. This is also a reminder because remember when we could find when the answer would be either all real numbers or no solution. We still have that as well when it comes to substitution for system of equations. So I'm going to work on the left side first. So if we're given these two equations, I've worked ahead a little bit. So I'm substituting in 2x minus 4 in for y. I'm starting to work through it. This is substituted. I'm starting to solve it. Do the distributive property. Now I have this equation. Now let's see here. It looks like if we're trying to solve for the x's, it looks like the x's are going to cancel out. So we have negative 6x plus 6x. That's basically 0. So those cancel out. And we are left with negative 12 is equal to negative 12. Does negative 12 equal negative 12? Yes. Yes, it does. So if the solutions, if they are equal to each other, then our answer is all real numbers. If these cancel out, and then these answers are equal, the answer is all real numbers. Now let's look at the right side. Same thing, I have given our equation, substituted it in, so now we have 2x minus 2x minus 3 is equal to 8. Now remember, just a quick reminder, this is like a negative 1. There's always a number that's in front of the parentheses. So it's like we're multiplying a negative 1 with the distributive property. When we do that, the signs change. So this turns into like a minus 2x, and a negative times a negative is a positive, so this turns into a plus 3. Now we're just at this step. If we have 2x minus 2x, if you have 2x's and you take away 2x's, these basically cancel out. All we're left with is 3 is equal to 8. Now, does 3 equal 8? No, it does not. Thus, the answer is no solution. So be careful about this. If the variables start canceling out, make sure you start looking at the numbers. If they're both equal, the answer is all real numbers. If they are not equal, the answer will be no solution. Time for a quick review. So remember our steps. You should have them written down in your notes, but just a quick little review. Step 1, you have to find the variable. Solve one of the equations just for the variable. You're then going to substitute the information from one equation into the other. Then you're going to solve for one variable. You're then going to take the answer to that and substitute it into one of the two problems. You're then going to solve for the other variable. Once you have your ordered pair, or once you have your x, you solve for your x and then solve for your y, put them in as an ordered pair, and those are going to be your answers. Be careful, because you might have some of those special answers where it's the all real numbers or no solution. So take your time, just make sure that you're doing this correctly. Check the answers in the back of the book. Let me know if you guys have any questions.